First tonight, one of President Putin's top aides has downplayed a U.S. proposal for a 30-day ceasefire in the war in Ukraine. Yuri Ushakov said he told the U.S. National Security Advisor Mike Waltz that he felt the plan would only benefit Ukraine. He said it was nothing more than a temporary respite for the Ukrainian military. He said that Russia's goal was a long-term peace settlement that takes into account the legitimate interests and concerns, not steps that imitate a peaceful path. One of President Trump's envoys, Steve Witkoff, is in Moscow to discuss the ceasefire proposal, which Ukraine backs in principle, and to try to persuade Russia to sign up to it. President Trump has hinted at financial sanctions if that support is not forthcoming. He said an agreement from Russia would go a long way towards ending the war. Meanwhile, President Putin has been told his forces are successfully driving out Ukrainian troops from the Russian border region of Kursk, and that a Russian victory was imminent. Well, for more on all this, let's take you straight away now to London and the international affairs analyst, Dr. Marek Laskiewicz. Dr. Laskiewicz, thank you very much indeed for joining us. Sorry, there was a bit of a delay at the start. We had a live going out, and we had to eventually come out of that live because it appeared to be overrunning. Let's start with what we're hearing from Moscow about those ceasefire talks. The U.S. envoy, Steve Witkoff, is now in Moscow for those talks, but it seems from what's being reported that Russia is moving closer and closer to saying no to that proposal for a ceasefire. State media has said the truce will offer nothing but a temporary respite for Ukrainian forces. What's the latest that you're hearing about that?
Well, I honestly doubt that Russia will ever say no in that sort of way. It's a very aggressive way of putting it. What they'll simply do is spin it out. There will be endless nuances, endless issues to be debated. As long as Russia is advancing militarily, which it is at present, in Kursk, and will probably switch its forces into the Donetsk area, there is no reason why they should want a ceasefire. On the contrary, it benefits them to carry on fighting. And so from that point of view, only were a stalemate to be reached would Russia possibly then agree to a ceasefire. But they will not actually ever say no. On the contrary, they will carry on simply negotiating over endless points.
Well, let's, because obviously we're going to have to wait to see what actually emerges from those talks. We haven't quite completed them yet. So let's move on to the other big issue that emerged from Russia today. Vladimir Putin visiting the border region of Kursk, the first time he's been there since Ukraine's military seized part of the territory last August. What do you reckon is the significance of his visit? Why do you think he decided to do it now?
There are three reasons. It underlines the victory. This is very important. This is a double whammy for Ukraine. This was supposed to be a war winner, a strategy, failed. It's supposed to be a negotiating tool, failed. Instead, Ukraine has lost a great deal of men and armor fighting here to no end. Number two, it shows him a military uniform, so he can counteract any notion that he is not a military person and President Zelensky is. And therefore, this is, in that sense, just a PR stunt. And finally, it shows that the ceasefire is some way off. There's not going to be any immediate ceasefire, and he's underlining it by the military uniform, by his visit to the Russian troops are advancing, by showing that they are still motoring forwards.
It's an interesting position that Russia is in, isn't it? I mean, they're winning on the battlefield. They've got Ukraine apparently on the ropes, and they've got what appears to be a sympathetic president in the White House. On the other hand, they likely won't want to appear to be the sole side that is against peace, will they?
I'm not sure that's so negatively seen by Moscow. The reason is as long as they don't actually say no in that sort of way and simply point out there are issues and problems, then actually they're on a winner in that sense, because it means that they are considering all the diplomatic niceties, taking things into account, and not approaching it all in a simplistic way that Ukraine and USA are. And so I don't think that will be impact in any way negatively on them. Their allies, I don't think, will abandon them as a result. So therefore, in that point of view, Russia will carry on spinning out these proposals.
So where do we go from here, or is it still uncharted territory?
As things stand, we are still going forwards with the possibility of this escalating eventually into World War III on a very simple basis. Russia is winning. If President Trump offers a huge concession and Ukraine agrees, he'll have won hands down. If nothing is forthcoming because of the ceasefire not being agreed, then Russia wins militarily. If America carries out its threat, which is unspecified but exists, to take down Russia financially, it's not clear how this is going to work, but presumably President Trump has a plan. Then all that happens then is we're back to escalating the war. So in this sense, as far as I can see, we're back to where we were a few months ago, with Russia slowly advancing. There's after all the kerfuffle in the White House between Zelensky and America, there has been, in effect, the same situation as before. Either America wishes to stop Russia permanently in some way, or it's going to carry on the way it's going. President Putin's got nothing to lose at present from carrying on the war, quite the opposite.
It's a very interesting assessment. Thank you very much indeed. Dr. Marek Laskiewicz is the international affairs analyst. He was talking to me on the line there from London.